Okay, so now let's start to define the functions that will be executed once each of these buttons is clicked. So making sure that I am indented properly, I only need to be one indent over. Remember, we have our class defined at the top, and then our init is our first indentation. Since we need to create a new function, we want to be lined up with that definition. So we're going to go def, and that is going to be underscore new file. And if you remember, that's what we called it up here when we hit the command prompt or the command in our new button to create a new file. So underscore new file opening paren self. We're passing that object on, and then we're going to say, okay, self dot underscore file name is going to equal nothing. Set of double quotes or quotes. And then we need to set up our file variable, so self dot underscore file var dot set opening paren double quotes closing paren. And then we want to output this to an area, so we're going to say self dot underscore output area dot delete. And notice that when I hit enter, it has delete and it has index 1, index 2. What we're going to do is we're going to delete a specific substring, for the most part substring. Everything starts at, this is where it's really weird, double quote 1.0. That goes and starts at the very first string on the very first character on the very first line all the way on the far left hand side. Our second index number is not so much an index number, but is the word end in all capitals. So if I put in delete 1 through 30, double quote 30, it would delete the first 30 characters. If I go 1 comma end, it's going to delete everything out of our output area. So whenever I say I want to create a new file, I'm going to clear everything out so I can add new text into my text area. Okay, so that's my first function, basically clearing everything out. And then we have a open. We have our open file. So let's define that one, again lining up with our one indent in from the far left. We're going to define underscore open file, opening paren, closing paren, self, colon, everything is in there. Okay, so now I need to find the file name. So we'll go self dot underscore, and then we have file name. Okay, we're going to pull that from there. We're going to say file name equals self dot underscore file var dot get open and closing paren. So what this is doing is, if we look at where file var is, we have it up here when we created it. Remember, we have our entry field, which is our small text box here. And what we're doing is we're saying, when we created this, that the file var underscore file var was going to be able to grab the data from that and then assign it to file var. So now down here we're saying get that name that's in there of the file we want to open and assign it to a variable called file name. And then we're going to set up our path. So we're going to go is, or not is, if os.path.exists, and then our path is going to be self dot underscore file name. Okay, closing paren colon. So that's our if statement saying if it exists, then we're going to be able to open it. So we're going to open it with self dot underscore file equals open, opening paren self dot underscore file name, comma, single quote R, single quote, closing paren. So this is going to be able to read from that file. We're just opening it to read from it. And then we want to delete anything that's in our text area. So we're going to do the same line we did above, self dot underscore output area dot delete, and then again double quote 1.0 double quote comma, and then end all the way at the end in all caps to delete everything in the area, because we're now going to assign or put in there, insert what we have in our open file. So we'll do self dot underscore output area dot insert, and we want to tell it where to start, which is going to be double quote 1.0, because we want it as the first character, comma, and then we want to tell it what to read from. So we're going to go self dot underscore file, which is where we opened it on line 59 here, dot read, open and closing paren, and that is going to read our file and place that inside of our text area. What if the if statement is incorrect? We want to give them a warning, or the user a warning, saying that we can't find the file. So I want to line up with the I in my if statement. I'm going to throw in an else, colon, because if it does not show up, if the file is not there, I need to pop up something to them. So I'm going to go to tkinter.messagebox dot show error, and then I'm going to take out the title, and I'm just going to take everything out of the parens. I'm just going to go message equals double quote file does not exist, exclamation point, double quote, comma, and then parent equals self, closing paren. Okay, so this is going to create a pop-up for us so that we can display the message saying that we can't find the file. So that's our open file. Now the last one we want to do is we want to save our file. So let's go and define a new function, again lined up with the rest of our functions, underscore save file, opening paren self, closing paren colon, and only a few lines here. We're going to go self dot underscore file name is going to equal self dot underscore file var dot get, open and closing paren. That's grabbing whatever data is in that field there. And then I'm going to put in a if statement, if self dot underscore file name does not equal. a set of quotes. Throw in set of single quotes, double quotes, whatever you want. So a set of quotes. So we're saying if that field is not blank, then we're going to be able to write to our file. So we'll go self dot inside of our if statement underscore file equals open, opening paren, and we're going to grab the self dot underscore file name, okay, comma, and then single quote W single quote to say that we're going to write to the file, and then we're going to grab everything out of our text area. So what are we going to write? We're going to go self dot underscore file dot write, opening paren, self dot underscore output area dot get, opening paren, double quote 1.0, double quote comma, and then end, two closing parens. And then let's close the file, self dot underscore file dot close, open and closing paren. So what we're doing here is we're opening a file based off of the name that we entered in that text field, the text field box, and then we're saying write to that file whatever's in our text area starting at our first character all the way to the end. So we're grabbing everything out of that using our get function, and then from there we're saying write that to our file and then close the file. Now we want to do an else colon, as if there's a problem, if the problem would be I do not put a file name in there. So if I do not put a file name in there, again I want to do a tkinter message box, tkinter dot message box dot show error, and we'll get rid of title, and it's going to be message is equal to must enter a file name, exclamation point, double quote, closing paren, I'm sorry, comma, and then parent equals self, and then closing paren. Okay, so that's all of our functions that we need. So now we need to start this. We haven't started it yet. All the way to the far left-hand side, lined up with our class, I'm going to make a main function. So I'm going to define it, main, open and closing paren, colon, and in here I'm going to create the object based off of my class. So I'm going to put the editor class, which is the name of the editor, the name of the class, open and closing paren, and then main loop, open and closing paren. What this does is it's going to put it into a constant loop until you choose to close it. So it's going to be basically a continuous loop, an infinite loop, until you decide to close it. And of course, in order to call the main, I need to put in main, open and closing paren, all the way to the far left-hand side. And that should be able to start our program. So now I save that, and let's try running it. So I'm going to right-click in the white space here. I'm going to say run as Python run, and hopefully I don't have any errors. Oh, got some errors. I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to find my errors, and I will get back to you and tell you where to make the corrections.